Good evening. My name is Jennifer Preble. I am board chair. Welcome to our school board meeting for April 26, 2023. It is a little bit past 5. Please note that school board member Johnston is away and school board member Gale will be with us shortly. Would you please kindly join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and we are on to item 3 this evening for approval of school board meeting minutes dated April 5th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Chair Preble, I move we approve the meeting minutes dated April 5th, 2023.
Second.
All right, I have a motion on the table for approval of school board meeting minutes from school board member Truman and seconded by school board member LaFortune.
No.
Can I? Oh, Artie,
Artie.
excuse me, stand corrected. Can I have a roll call vote, please? School board member Archie?
Yes.
School board member, I'm having one of those afternoons, so sorry. Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. School board member LaFortune?
Yes.
And school board member Truman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Oh, I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0. All right. Adjustments to the agenda. Do we have any adjustments this evening to our agenda? All right. Moving on to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence this evening? All right. We are moving on to public session. Please feel free to stand before the school board and have 3 minutes. Anyone willing to come before the board? I didn't see anyone had signed up formally. All right. Moving on to superintendent's report. Superintendent Ray?
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Several items to talk about. First and foremost, Meg and Chris had the opportunity to offer testimony in support of Senator Rafferty from Kennebunk's bill to establish a 2-year state-funded pilot to cover the extraordinary costs associated with serving homeless families and youth. As you know, the school department educates more than 100 homeless families at this time, 100 youth, and we've been using a lot of ARP money that's been available to help provide transportation, nutrition, other services. As you know, the federal funding will go away, and as those funds diminish, we've kind of spun up an Aid for Saco Kids 501c3 nonprofit to help us with grant writing, fundraising, etc. The Senate bill, which we hope will pass and passed out of committee, would provide these funds directly to the homeless liaisons for a 2-year trial period. Chris has been invited by the Housing Committee to participate in the work session where additional details can be hashed out as the bill is refined. We thank our local senators for their support on this because many families are in crisis and need that additional support. And as schools serve more and more like social service agencies, we need the ability to tap funds quickly when families are in need. We will talk about a construction update in new business, but just for people, in case you're watching it now, draft floor plans are available on the website and on Facebook that we were able to release at our meeting last night, and we have a very important meeting next week with the Maine Department of Transportation to talk about all of the turning and curbing and all of those exciting things. Today is Administrative Assistance Day, so we want to make sure that we say thank you to all of our administrative assistants in our schools for the hard work that they do. We received some great news today that our grant for Title I Summer School was approved by the DOE, so that's about 50,000+, Meg? 38,000 that we will use towards Title I Summer School. And then today, the administrative team participated in a fairly well-attended, probably 100+ people in for an area school emergency training. So Saco Fire and Police in York County with Biddeford, we were all together really thinking about the needs of our schools for, a very tragic day and how we respond and communicate. And so that was a pretty intense training, which will allow for us and our communities to have great follow-up. Just want to make sure that I thank the Saco police who participated and Chief Clements for his collaboration on that, as we already have plans to come together for next steps and how we react as communities to emergencies that may present themselves.
All right, any questions for Superintendent Ray? All right, moving on to the next item, Chair's Report. I don't really have anything new to update. So we're moving on to staff reports, which I didn't see any on the agenda. So we're looking at board subcommittee meeting minutes, personnel and policy and personnel committee meeting minutes for 4/5/23 are in the agenda. And our next meeting is May 10th at 5:30 p.m. Finance and Infrastructure Committee meeting minutes are from 4/26 at 4 p.m. So we met today at 4. Our next meeting will be May 24th, 2023. The Curriculum Committee is going to meet on 4/24, and our next meeting for them will be May 22nd. I don't see any other items under old business, so moving on to new business. Action item A, new hires. Do we need any action on this? I did not see any action noted. All right. There is a memo in your packet that you can download and take a look at. Under resignations, I see no memo and no action needed at this time. So moving on to action item C, Saco Middle School furniture update. Superintendent Ray.
And Assistant Superintendent Parkhurst is going to come up and tell us all the progress we've made with furniture at the middle school, thanks to the support from school committee and city council last year during the budget process to really transform the furniture in that building.
So I'm going to give you a pretty quick update as to some of the current improvements to date, and then give you a sense of some of what we're hoping to accomplish into this spring and early summer. So far, we have completed classroom tables and desks. We were able to shift to a little bit more of a flexible structure with teachers able to select stand-up tables, stand-up desks, regular height desks, or regular height tables with accompanying chairs or not, depending on the flow of their classroom instruction, and a little bit more flexible as well in terms of their ability to fit together into small groups so that they're not quite a square shape, so you can kind of configure groups of 3, 4, or 5 in ways that are a little bit more flexible for teachers and also a little bit quieter to move, which does make a difference in a classroom. On order currently, we have a full set of resources for our library, our cafeteria, and our teacher's room, which I'll give you a chance to kind of take a peek at what those look like. And then outstanding, we do have some odds and ends that we will still be tying up, including bookshelves, file cabinets, making sure that things really look consistent across all things without mismatching pieces in there, as well as exploring other alternate seating areas, entryway areas, and other kind of special purpose spaces that might have really unique uses aside from those general education classrooms. Though we did outfit every office already in some nooks, we still have some punch list items there. So unfortunately, or luckily, did not have a lot of photos of the cafeteria pre-painting, but this photo gives you just a sense of what the color scheme was it did feel pretty dark in there with the color of the walls, and on the other wall there was a pretty large tree structure painted on in a dark brown. So that's how it looked pre this year. Now we have fully painted the cafeteria, and even without any changes to lighting or to the floors as of yet, the feeling in there is pretty entirely different in terms of brightness and a freshness and updating. This is the current furniture that is in there now. It's all the same tables that we have for students and in those long rows. So one of the things that we learned during COVID is that the cafeteria can be an overwhelming place for students, and though we are back in cafeterias, there are things that we can do with seating arrangements to create different spaces for students that feel a little bit more comfortable. So as you can see from this picture, we have some round table options with bench seating. Those tables that do have chairs around them that are circular are actually a standing height. So you can have students that are sitting at that stool height chair or standing around a table to eat. And then in the side, kind of to the left-hand side there, you'll see booth seating for students to kind of create a different feeling and some options for students as they enter the cafeteria. Of course, it's set up like this in the schematic, but it's highly flexible, so you can move these pieces around, which is also kind of nice because it kind of changes what kind of cafeteria you're walking into depending on what the use case is on any given day or how the staff notices patterns occur. Like, we have a lot of kids gathering here, let's switch up this space so that we can kind of move things around a little bit. Just to give you a little bit of a close-up of those booths and tables, they are all mobile so that you could have the option, if you're bringing a classroom in there during a non-lunch time, to kind of set up that booth seating as a more like stadium chair seating that goes across, and as well the cafeteria tables that look in this schematic almost exactly like what's there are in fact separate pieces so that you can move those against the wall and have more of like a single wide eating area. You can also flip that tabletop down so that those all become bench seats, and then that way you can set up inside the cafeteria for a performance or other event without having to clear all the tables out to a storage facility and move in an entire set of chairs for the student body, but you can actually kind of turn those into bench seating. Moving on to the library, we were able to complete some painting. So here's a little bit of the post painting, and as you can see, there's quite a creative accumulation of a variety of furniture to allow students to have some flexibility. And what we're looking to do is kind of update that as we look to purchase new furniture while still creating those flexible spaces for students. So this is kind of a bird's eye view of what that will look like with those windows being on the right-hand side. And again, we've tried to design this so that it's highly flexible. We've been able to move the circulation desk so it has a better view of that student entry area. We kind of have two separate classroom use spaces, both with the tables on the right-hand side and then the more presentation area with some cushiony chairs that can be moved around for students to participate in that area, and then some smaller group seating around those curved bookcases. And just to give you a little zoom in on that, and again, everything is highly mobile and on wheels so that if we want to kind of take this space and bring a whole grade level team or a whole team into the library, we can push those shelves that are in the center aside, create a little bit more flexibility with the chairs being able to face that presentation space or the person who's speaking, and create another area for students to kind of gather more collectively for sharing work or performances or speakers. And this is a really cool whiteboard thing in the bottom right corner. There are these whiteboards that then attach to those tables and either form dividers so that if we do need to have an assessment set up or that sort of scenario, those double as both dividers or whiteboards that students can take to those tables and utilize for more group-oriented activities. We're also able to take a look at the teacher's room, which again kind of highlights the variation of things that have accumulated over time. And we'll be able to update that to create some of the consistencies with the furniture and other areas as well. Happy to answer any questions about any of that.
I was just wondering if you could give us an overview of the budget, like how much is remaining on the items that you were purchasing and how much we've spent so far?
So we've pulled from a couple of different sources. A lot of that has come from the federal funding to allow for us to space students out. As a result of COVID, we were able to work that into some of the funding. I believe we've put to date just over 250,000, and moving forward have, I think it's about 200 for the library and teacher's room, and another 180,000 for the cafeteria, if I'm remembering correctly, but I will follow up with those exact figures.
I just want to say that I'm really happy that we're investing in Saco Middle School because it has been kind of neglected and it is a mishmash, and I'm happy to see that it's got more of a cohesive feel to it. And being in the cafeteria for the last couple new construction meetings, it was like night and day in there because it used to feel like a dark cavern, and now it's very bright and actually probably can see your food now, so it's nice.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to item D, summer programming. Superintendent Ray or Parkhurst?
Yep, I just wanted to provide an update. We are a little bit ahead of schedule from last year, so I'd like to invite Abby Trask up with me, who is our summer program coordinator. She was able to serve in that role last year, and after looking at candidates this year, we've elected to continue with her in that leadership role, and I'm going to give her a chance to share a little bit about summer school. You already heard from Superintendent Ray about our Title I summer allocation, which was great news, and we're looking forward to being able to put that money towards our programming this year.
So this year we'll be running our summer programs from July 10th through August 3rd, Mondays through Thursdays at Young School. As with last year, we will continue to offer both extended school year and our summer school programs for eligible students. Our special education extended school year program is designed for students who experience severe regression or significant lagging skills over summer break. ESY focuses specifically on students' individual IEP goals and services as directed by the IEP teams. However, our summer school program for eligible students will focus on language arts and our math fundamental skills. The focus for this is to catch up and build momentum for these kids over the summer to decrease the likelihood of continued gapped learning. We are excited to offer both of these options to eligible students and look forward to another great summer of learning.
So we've been really happy to have Abby taking the lead on that, and one of the things that we also shifted, which you've seen in the most recent two reminders, is that we selected to kind of start with parental interest this year and then determine qualifying students based on interest, because last year we did experience kind of a lag of identifying students and then waiting for commitments from parents and then extending more invitations as we could kind of fill spots. So we're hoping to streamline that process this year, as well as give families earlier notification about exactly who we are able to accommodate so that they can make their summer plans. And we're happy to take any questions.
Just a question on participation and what are we seeing this year at this stage versus last year?
We really don't have numbers for this year yet. Some of our limitations are around ability to find staff and the physical space available. Last year, I believe we were able to serve one classroom per grade level for entering K through entering fifth grade students. And we definitely had higher levels of participation or bigger groups, but with more support staff for our younger students. We had intended last year to run a middle school program and just didn't have the level of student interest that we would need to make that viable, but we're able to kind of shift classroom spaces that were allocated to ensure that we had space for younger students as well. So great number on total number of students. I could report that out, but it would take me a couple of minutes to look it up, but I think we had about a little bit more in summer programming than ESY.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. And then that one classroom, I think the classes ranged from 18 to low 20s, but we had 2 staff members that were working with that classroom so that there was an ability to work in small groups and such.
A quick follow-up.
Go ahead, School Board Member Gale.
Is there, do you keep track, like by cohort of these students as they move through the system to see how this intervention is helping them in terms of scores and all that, or?
Yeah, so part of our reporting out for our Title I summer reallocation grant was to report on those students that are Title I identified that are receiving summer services. We don't currently have a way to easily be able to pull like this group that's summer school from this, so we need to do that right now on a student by student basis, and so we only did that for Title I earmarked students that were also participating in summer school, and then comparing that group against not that group.
I guess we're seeing obviously good results with that Title I group. I guess it's still pretty early, right?
Right. It's a hard comparison to make because that correlation causation is not. In order to really determine if summer school was effective for those students, we would have to compare Title I students that aren't participating in summer school with Title I students that are participating in summer school. And we haven't gone to that level because if we just compare, as we have to for the reporting, the Title I students in summer school with the general population, those Title I students may be struggling with other things. Like they did make improvements. They did not make as many improvements as the students that weren't selected for summer school. So it's a little bit tricky because we can't see if that's because they were already behind or because they qualified for different reasons. But we certainly have had feedback from families about student confidence, and we're able to provide reporting back to teachers about student progress over the summer. So I feel like all of those are really promising ways that we are confident that we're closing that gap for those students that participate.
Sorry, last question, I promise. So for this enrollment period, and it sounds like last enrollment period, we didn't have any issue with bumping up against limits and having to exclude anybody. It kind of sounds like the opposite, right? We're kind of struggling with recruiting students and parent interest.
So the way that we did it last year is we started with student level data and teacher recommendations and then extended invites as we could. So we started with what capacity we could have. We looked at the students that we felt based on test scores and teacher recommendations would benefit the most from that. and then only extended invitations to those families. So in that methodology, there wasn't a way for us to know what the interest level was because we didn't extend the invitation first and then select. We selected and then extended invitations. So this year we'll have a little bit of a better sense of if our program is able to meet the demand in the community.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item E, construction update, Superintendent Ray.
All right, well, thank you for all of those who attended last night. The exciting piece about last night was having the ability to finally release draft floor plans to the community. And that was obviously something that we needed to get clearance from the DOE, that we were at that point where we could do that. So now that the draft floor plans are out there, we will start having some review groups starting this week, like one of those being meeting with the recreation department to say, okay, thinking about how you might use this building after hours, do we have the things that you need? Have we thought about those? And then taking those plans and saying, okay, what about the cleaning of the building, and how does that work? And having some conversations with Mike and having conversations with Jess and Abby about around special education programming and the flow of the building, because like we said last night, that is draft number 1 of probably 300 that will happen over the next couple of years of trying to make sure that we have the building, set up in a way that makes sense for how we want to use it for the next 50 to 60 years. Additionally, as you saw in there, we had done very well with space allocations, and that we were only a little over 3,000 square feet over kind of what the minimum would be for the state, which is good news for us because certain spaces, as we highlighted last night, like gymnasium and cafeteria, those are spaces that we would want to be or recommend to be a little bit larger to meet the needs of our community, whether that be for after-school plays or concerts that we would hold in the cafeteria, to the amount of use from Saco Parks and Rec and others for youth sports and other events in our gymnasium. So that's a big step for us. Next week, Meg and I, the architects, and many members of the city staff will attend an MDOT scoping meeting, which is the next big hurdle for us to clear, to take all of their recommendations to think about traffic and sidewalks and all the things they are seeing in our plan, so that once that meeting takes place, we have the recommendations to put forward in our application for site approval, which still is our goal, is June with the State Board of Education, which would leave us kind of August as building approval, program approval at the state level. That's what keeps us on track for November. So a lot needs to happen, in that meeting next week is probably one of the bigger ones. Now that the floor plan has been kind of released, the next steps in development of the building will start to be thinking about systems. In Oak Point and the DOE thinking about which systems for heating and would be there. So we've made some good progress. I asked people to look at those plans, share those plans, give feedback on those plans, because that's that's a big step in the process, is to look at what we're going to have and how we feel about the flow in the building and all of those pieces. So lots happened. We'll have a meeting, is it May 18th? May 18th is the next meeting that we're thinking that in that month's time, the community will definitely have seen those plans and be able to give feedback on those for both of the buildings.
Any questions for Superintendent Ray? School Board Member LaFortune?
I don't have any questions. It was just to see the presentation last night. And I know it's draft, and it's really just stimulate some conversation, but it was very exciting to see at least a draft floor plan and start to see the site that was proposed take shape into something, more than just a drawing. It's, definitely exciting to see that start to really, really come together.
Starts to feel real.
Yep.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. Moving on to item F, April 1st enrollment update. Superintendent Ray?
Yeah, and this is just informational in your packet. Each year we provide an October 1 enrollment and an April 1 enrollment to the DOE. And as you can see from here, we have 1,894 students pre-K through 8, and currently 856 students at Thornton Academy.
Any questions from the board for Superintendent Ray? All right. Moving on to item G, first reading of policies. We have KF, community use of Saco school facilities. We have EBCC, bomb threat. We have ECAD, security camera system. ECAD-R, security camera system administrative procedure. ECB, pest management in school facilities and on school grounds. GBEB, workplace bullying. GBEBB, staff conduct with students. GBEC, drug-free workplace. GBGE, light work/return to work. GBF, work-related injuries. GBO, family care leave. GCFA, employee social media policy. GCFB-R, recruiting and hiring of administrative staff -- administrative staff procedure. Do I have a motion?
Chair Preble. I move we approve the first reading of policies KF, EBCC, ECAD, ECAD-R, ECB, GBEB, GBEBB, GBEC, GBGE, GBF, GBO, GCFA, and GCFB-R.
So I have a motion from School Board Member Truman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by School Member LaFortune. Can I have a roll call vote? School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Richards?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. 6-0. I just wish Beth was here. Look at that. All right, policy H, policy procedures to strike. I have KF-R, use of school facilities. KF-A, school facility form. EB-R, safety program administrative procedure. EB-R1, safety and wellness program administrative procedure. EB-R2, Saco School Department Safety and Wellness Committee Mission Statement. EBAA-R, Chemical Hazard/Chemical Hygiene Plan. EBAA-R2, Employee Chemical Education and Training Record. EBAA-R3, Record of Trainings Received. EBCC-R-1, Bomb Threat Procedures. EBCC-R-2, Bomb Threat Checklist. EEA-R, Drug and Alcohol Testing of School Bus Drivers Administrative Procedure. Do I have a motion?
Chair Preble.
School Board Member Truman.
I move we strike policies KF-R, KF-A, EB-R, EB-R1, EB-R2, EBAA-R, EBAA-R2, EBAA-R3, EBCC-R-1, and EBCC-R-2.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member LaFortune.
I just want to add that we're striking these, and correct me if I'm wrong, because these are procedures and not policies. There's no need for them to be in our policy handbook, so if for some reason a procedure needed to be changed, this should all be handled at the administrative level and not the school board level. So, and having the check forms and the papers is kind of redundant where a lot of things are done electronically.
All right, any other comment before roll call vote? All right, roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Richards?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yep.
Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to item other information. I don't see any other information was reported this evening. All right. And there's no executive session scheduled for this evening. So moving on to adjournment. Do I have a roll call vote?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Truman, School Board Member Truman, with a second vote for School Board Member LaFortune. Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie.
Chair Provo.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Really quickly, I was wondering that, could we have the next meeting for the Finance and Infrastructure Committee for the 24th? Can we have that changed? Because that's, the time is not on that.
Oh.
Just for the next meeting.
Are you referring back to the next meeting for Finance and Infrastructure for May 24th?
Yeah, do we have a time for that yet?
It will be at 4 o'clock, is my understanding.
Okay.
So for public knowledge, just to reiterate, the Finance and Infrastructure Committee meeting will meet on May 24th at 4 p.m. Any other questions or concerns?
And also, it couldn't hurt to have the times for the curriculum committees as well, even though
4:30.
we do it every week the same time. But
Okay, so just for public knowledge, Curriculum Committee will meet on May 22nd at 4:30 p.m. And just to backtrack a bit, Policy and Personnel Committee, their next meeting is May 10th at 5:30 p.m. All right, back to adjournment. Can I have a roll call vote?
Yes.
School Board Member Archie.
yes.
Okay, School Board Member Richards.
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member LaFortune.
Yes.
School Board Member Gale.
Yes.
School Board Member Truman.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Thank you so much and have a great evening, everyone.